Hey everyone, we're back on the couch for another episode of Therapy Thursdays. And another really exciting episode, really practical today, which is similar to last week when I taught you the havening technique as a way of managing your emotions in your recovery. And we're going to be doing something very, very similar. So I'm going to be introducing you to another technique which will help you to manage your emotions. So what I try and do is always give you guys options, because as I've said before, there's not going to be one tool or technique that's going to work for everybody. So this technique, which I'm going to be sharing with you today, is called the emotional freedom technique, or tapping. And it's another really important tool that will help you to manage those uncomfortable emotions and actually build some emotional resilience and emotional fitness, which will leave you feeling more empowered in your recovery rather than a victim to what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, which I think is really important. Because like I've said in previous episodes, when you make that decision to enter recovery, it is scary, right? It's hugely challenging, and it's going to be, if I'm honest, one of the hardest but best things you'll ever do. But it's important to be fully resourced going into it. Okay, and by fully resourced, I mean having a little toolbox of tools which you can use in those moments where it feels too much, or when you feel like you're being emotionally hijacked, or you're feeling the overwhelm or the anxiety and it just feels too much. And I want you to actually be able to use these tools to intercept those feelings before that brain just takes over and the eating disorder part of you takes over and you find yourself slipping back into those old ways, which is what we're trying to avoid, right? We're trying to actually keep you in a place where you feel empowered and able to take some steps forward. So EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, is something that I learned throughout my journey and which I still use now, in addition to the havening technique, because some days it's better than others and some days I feel like I need this versus other techniques. So I want to give you guys some options, and it's very similar to the havening technique. It works directly on the body, and I've said this in the past that sometimes trying to solve mind stuff with the mind is ineffective. Sometimes we actually have to look to the body to be able to influence our mind and our emotions. And this is what the emotional freedom technique does. It's based on acupressure. So I don't know if any of you have had acupuncture with certain needles going into certain parts of the body to release negative energy. And this is exactly the same as that. It works via certain pressure points in certain places around your body, which are linked to meridian systems. So it's like Chinese medicine. And these meridian systems are all about storing energy in the body. And negative energy, which is essentially our emotions, can get stored and trapped in the body. And energy, unfortunately, it can't be destroyed, it only can be moved around and transferred. So in some ways, we've got to think about those negative emotions that we're experiencing. They need to be released in some way or another. And a lot of people will try and get that emotional release through food, through under-eating, overeating, exercising, over-exercising, cutting meals, restricting, all of that, that box of unhealthy eating habits. This is how a lot of people will try and get emotional release. Others will go through alcohol, shopping, gambling, sex. But unfortunately, that doesn't give us the long-term emotional release we're craving. And I'm sure you know, if you're listening to this video, that obviously food, even though it promises a way out of those emotions, very rarely lasts, right? So we want to be looking for other strategies to help release those uncomfortable emotions from our body without turning to food, whether that's over or under eating. Really, whatever it is for you. So EFT works on pressure points, which are based on meridian systems, which are the systems of energy in our body, to help release negative energy from our body and bring us back into some sort of balance. Okay, and this is a really good for anxiety, for panic, for fear, for anger, frustration, and even feelings that we have about ourselves, not feeling good enough, feeling unworthy, undeserving. So it can be used in many different ways for those surface level emotions, but also the much deeper ones relating to who we are and our self-worth. And there's a system and a structure to this, which I'm going to walk you through, because there's a process. which can take a little bit of time to learn. But once you've got the process down, it just becomes really natural and really easy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to walk you through the structure and the process and the sequence of tapping, okay? And first and foremost, you want to be using 2 fingers, typically. So here we go. And we're going to be tapping 5 times on certain parts of the body, okay? 5 times on certain parts of the body. So we start on the top of the head. So that's number 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And come a little bit closer. Then get up close and personal to the camera. So head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we go top of the eyebrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. To the temple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under the eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's the head. Then we move to the body. Collarbone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Armpit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we move to the hand. So we want to be tapping on the outside of all of the fingers. So we start with the thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And finally is something called the karate chop. So we're going to be tapping here, but using the whole of this part of the hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's it. That's the sequence. So I'm going to show you again a little bit quicker. So always start at the top of the head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Eyebrow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Temple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under the eye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Under the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Chin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Collarbone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Armpit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And through the hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Karate chop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So that's the sequence. So what you would do when you feel the emotion, when it hits, when that anxiety hits, when that panic, that fear, whatever it is, like I've done in the past, you want to close your eyes and just pause and connect to where you're feeling that. And for me, anxiety always in my throat. So I want to connect to where I feel that just for a moment. And rate that on a scale of 0 to 10, with 10 being the strongest. So it might be an 8, for example. Okay. Then holding on to that emotion. And with this sequence, there's a certain phrase that we're going to set up with that sequence. So every single tap, every single place, there's a phrase I want you to repeat to yourself. Even though I have this anxiety, which is for me, I deeply and completely accept myself. So you want to insert whatever emotion that is for you. Even though I have this anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, you want to breathe into that. Even though I have this anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Then that's what you want to tap on. And what I tend to do, because that's quite a long phrase, I shorten it. So I would go, I accept myself, and tap that. So what this looks like, connect to where you're feeling the emotion. My anxiety is in my throat. Rate on a scale of 0 to 10, about an 8. The phrase, even though I have this anxiety, I deeply and completely accept myself. Then I'll start tapping. I accept myself. 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 And then pause. Deep breath in and out. And you want to be repeating that 3 times. Okay. So you do the same thing from the top of the head and work your way through all the way. And you can say this out loud or in your head, really doesn't matter. And then all the way through the hands to the karate chop. 3 times after every sequence. Deep breath, let it out, and then go again. And at the end of the 3, then you want to check back in with that original feeling. Scale of 0 to 10, how strong is it now? And it will likely would have fallen. So I used to go from about an 8 to a 5, and then I would repeat, do another 3 rounds. Check back in, and the aim is to get that score as low as possible. Some people get it to a 0, sometimes it might be a 1 or a 2, but to a level where you feel comfortable, where you're not being emotionally hijacked anymore and you're able to carry on with your day. And I just want to point out something else which is quite important. Obviously, we're not always alone when these things happen. We're out in public, right? So very similar to what I was talking about in the havening technique, there's a certain sequence that you can just do if you're in public. And I do this on trains, buses, in any public place, under the table at work. You can just use your hand. So rather than going from all the way through the head to the body to the hand, you can just tap your fingers all the way through. Karate chop. And work your way through that way. I accept myself. I accept myself. I accept myself. And do this as long as you need. Just keep tapping. 3 rounds. Check back in. And then go again. So again, this can be actually tailored to private versus public. Okay. And again, this is using the body to influence those emotions, because sometimes you can't solve mind problems and emotions using the level of the mind that created them. We've got to look to the body, and that's what this technique's all about. And if you like this one, then go back and listen to last week's episode on havening, which is a very similar principle, using the body to help build emotional resilience. So this was tapping. Give it a try. The first few times you do it, it can feel a little bit clunky. A little bit sticky, and sometimes you get quite stuck in your head, but they just go with it. The more you practice, and once you get the sequence down and memorized, then you can actually focus on really working through those emotions, and just keep on practicing. Keep on going. This is a practice. These tools are practices, okay? It's not a case of just doing it once and then expect everything to be fine. So I'm really interested in how you find tapping. Again, tapping on any emotional disturbance during your recovery, around food, around your body image, around other people, around how you feel about yourself. So this is really a widespread net, really great tool, great practice for you to use to help build emotional resilience, which will help you to keep moving forwards in your recovery. Comment and let me know how you go. Any questions, any comments, any feedback, I'd love to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you again next week for our next episode of Therapy Thursdays. Have a good week, everyone.